I'm Bridget, and today I'm going to be making 2 pairs of pajama pants. So this is the pattern I'm using, and 16-year-old me did myself a very big favour in that I've cut out individually the pattern pieces for each part and bagged them up nicely and neatly. The only thing is, when I opened this, there were only 3 packets inside, and the one that I'm after was the only one not in there. But I did find it, so it makes me happy. So I had cut out the individual pattern pieces, but I hadn't cut them down to size. So it was sort of like a bit of an around thing, but here I am just cutting it to my size, which was actually the bigger one because I am a little bit chubby. But yeah, that I was being careful as well to make sure that I saved sort of the extra, like any extra pieces that were overhanging, just in case I ever want to cut out a different size, whether it be for myself or someone else. It's always handy to kind of have on hand, and you want to be careful just cutting the pattern in general, so you don't want to tear it this early. Now, if you have never followed a pattern before, a handy little thing is this. So basically it's going to show you how to cut out, how to lay out your fabric, where to cut, and it's got magic abilities that will help you very much along. So this is the material that I will be working with for my first set of pajama pants. I love fluffy pajama pants, and you can't always get them, and sometimes it's hard getting ones in the right size, which is kind of why I'm doing this project, so that I can wear what I want when I want. It's very hard material to work with, but it glows in the dark, so I feel that that makes it worthwhile. That is little Tori, if anyone's wondering. So she does have an ulcer on her foot, which means that she often will be seen in a sock, and she is a lovely little girl, and an excellent supervisor. Yeah. So pinning the pattern to the material, I want to say obviously, but then I feel like that's kind of mean if you've like never sewn before and you can't figure out how does this get to that. I had to stop the recording for a minute there because I had to burp, being a lady and all. So right now, yep, I'm continuing to pin because it's gonna, and the pins are particularly important when you're working with something like this because it's very slippery. But I think that as long as you know what you're kind of getting into with different materials, then yeah, it's your personal choice whether you want to work with them or not. Yeah. And this is Sweetie, by the way. So Sweetie is the mama to Tori. She has come in to help. Yes. You have to pay tribute to the household gods, which Sweetie very much is. So she's Tori's mama. She is also mama to Caspar, and she very much looks after her sister Angel. Ollie she doesn't get along with. We do have a few cats. they started out as strays. It was sort of like there's a bit of a program where you can, if you talk to your vets and that, you can look at getting the strays desexed, and then pretty much they domesticated themselves after that, which I'm not complaining about. Look how cute she is. She's just there cleaning herself. She's a little ball of precious. But, so they are absolute delights, and I feel very lucky and quite grateful and very happy that we get to give them a little bit of a home. Now, this is when things kind of started to get a bit interesting, because Sweetie kind of went from, keeping the material down as I was cutting it to suddenly fascinated by the very sharp object coming into her direction. And it was moving, nearly like some kind of prey to catch. And I'm just cutting away without realizing how fixated she has become onto the scissors. And right now, it's starting to look very tempting to her. Very tempting indeed. Do we attack? We attack! So, yeah, no, I mean, she tore the pattern a little bit and that, but again, how can you stay mad at that little ball of fluff? Yeah. Of course, after that point, she decided to become a real hands-on helper. Very fascinated by everything that was going on, trying to pull the pins out for me because obviously they'd been in there for a little too long. They were probably damaging the garment or something like that. I'm sure was the logic of her mind. And yep, again, the scissors. Which it put me in a little bit of a predicament where I didn't really know whether I should be going on while she was there. Because I don't want her to get hurt. I just, as you can see, tried to get her away. Yep, straight back onto it. Yeah. She's very helpful, but also very stubborn. So again, we persist. I did stop for a little bit during all of it because I realized that I couldn't get further, even though she was very helpful, but at least I managed to get some of it away. And here I am just doing the final little bit to get the second pant leg out, or the back half. I can't remember whether it was the back or the front. Now that the pant legs are somewhat free, it's time to get them all pinned up together. So another little bit that I did here is I did a little clip onto the pieces that were the front, so that I knew where the front was, because there is a difference. There's sort of a little bit more room in the back, which it's handy to keep track of when sewing, and it takes a lot of effort to look into detail as to which piece is which. And at the end of the day, I'm lazy, so that's not going to happen. I have my 3D printer running in the background, but I'm pretty much just going to start with a straight stitch. This is a fancy machine. You definitely don't need a fancy machine for this project, which I'm going to stress. And I do already have some white thread in there, which I think is going to work nicely for this project. Now, typically you're going to want to consistently follow one of the lines. It does say 1/4 of an inch, which I think's about there. I don't know too much about inches. Yeah, no, I think it would be about along the foot. So So I have the tape here from a quilt that I was working on so I could consistently maintain the same sort of seam. Now before I do the final project, or touch the project, I just want to do a test run with the same material. So this is a little bit of scrap. Yep, that's looking good and secure, and there were no hiccups. Love it. So time to get on to the real thing.
I sew, 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 I sew, 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 I sew in with the sewing machine. I sew, 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 I sew, 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 sew in with the sewing machine. Yeah, I didn't expect this clip to actually be that long. I thought, oh hey, a quick little ditty to get us through that couple of seconds, because I have it going at like triple speed or something like that. Anyway, it's almost over.
As you can see, we've had a bit of a hiccup with the first pair of pants. The material is very slippery, so it kept kind of sliding out, which is why I tried to put in extra pins, but it's never always a precise science. So basically I'm going to cheat a little bit and just unpick some of it, like as limited amount as I can get away with, to redo that bit, but I'm happy with how the second ones came out.
So I found during the unpicking that I'd done the stitches a little bit like too short or tight. I'm not that much of a technical person. Please don't trust me. Um, but after that I was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna have to do like longer stitches and that. I think I did that about once. I kept forgetting. But yeah, so I do things the dodgy way. Please keep that in mind. This is meant to be me solving a practical issue.
Now, to make it a little bit more secure, we're going to pop it onto the zigzag stitch. It's still the same plate. I love this machine because it makes it so clear which plate you want. And yeah.
So I just went over the edges with the zigzag stitch. You can also use an overlocker for that if you have one. I'd love an overlocker. They make it so nice and neat and tidy, but then this does the same thing. And really what I'm trying to achieve with this project is just solving an issue, and being able to just do it simply and practically straight out, not worrying about like perfectionism.
Now I did just change it to 3.5 and I've tested the stitch, so you can do it like that. Because when I was unpicking earlier, it was a nightmare. So if I need to again, that'll make it easier.
So, see what I did there? So now I'm just doing the sort of the crotch area, I believe. So I was doing that sort of inner seam of the legs, and it's hard to explain, but it'll do. It probably doesn't make any sense.
Honestly, this is the worst possible disaster you can have in a sewing room. I mean, I suppose it's not the worst because it landed on the lid, a lot of it, so that will help the cleanup.
So now they were really starting to look like pants, which was getting very exciting. So now it was just a case of pinning together the outer seams. Just to like really bring them into pant-like fashion. Look at that, you can see two legs. So proud of myself. And then it was just the same thing that I've been doing, just a straight stitch down, then a zigzag stitch to kind of back it up. Um, and yeah, which I used to sew a lot when I was younger, terribly. I've always done it terribly. I've never been much of an expert, but I have been really wanting to get back into some of this like hands-on stuff lately, especially like after like places like Miller's and that have been closing, so it's sometimes hard to find the clothes that suit me.
So I am quite happy with how they're fitting. They do have a lot of bag, which is good for pajama pants, but something I'll have to keep in mind with the next couple of projects I want to do off that pattern. The next step is going to be getting the elastic in there. Getting like, yeah, elastic and...
I did decide to pop a couple of little buttonholes on the front of the pants, partially so that I could differentiate the front and the back from, because I'm kind of useless like that. But also because I feel like, one, if I ever want to put a cord through them, it's going to make it a lot easier. So it's a long-term kind of thing. It also seems like one of those things where when the elastic starts to go, maybe it will make it easier to get it in and out. I don't know. Whether I should have done this or not, I'm not sure, because I spent like an hour and a half forgetting how to use the button stitch, and I stopped filming during that stage and had a slight nervous breakdown, and then I remembered you have to pull the little tab thing. And as is tradition, when you are sewing a garment, one always has to run out of the thread on the bobbin at the most inconvenience of times. So enjoy this as it slowly inflates. Okay, back to the sewing. Back to the good stuff. Yeah, so I believe at this stage I had to still do the hems, which I'm not going to instruct you on in any way because I do it terribly. I know I've been saying that about a lot of things in this project, and you might be looking at me like, oh, you're putting yourself down. But no, you'll see when we go into detail. And there we go. As you can see, they're kind of a bit weird. Fluffed up. I mean, they're to a point where they're not going to shed everywhere, so I can't complain too much. But yeah, no, it's they do look a lot better than the first time I did pajama pants in this material, which I'd only done once before, to be honest. Like you can't really see from a mile away when you're going up in close like that. You can see how terribly uneven and awkward they are. I'm starting to think maybe I shouldn't drink fizzy drink before I do these recordings again. Yeah, but look, even though they're not perfect, they're practical, which is what this whole project's been about. It's about testing my confidence to actually go out there and make something that I need that will be useful and practical in the future. And I really didn't want this to be a perfectionism, partially because this is like one of my first long format sort of videos. It's definitely the first one sewing and stuff. And there you can see them complete, and I'm really happy with the way they're looking. They are, from like a distance, they look reasonably professional, and I wear them, and I think if people saw me in them, they wouldn't necessarily think that I had made them, which is something I think to be proud of. But you know, that's why you need to put features in to make them obviously homemade. So I promised 2 pairs of pajama pants. I am semi-delivering on that. I'm not going into the same level of detail because mostly it was still the same. It was the using the same pattern and cutting it out, all that really changed was the material, and I wanted to get a little bit experimental, so I tried adding in pockets. They're terrible pockets. I did not go in with any kind of plan. I thought they're pockets. You just cut some material and stitch it into the side. I mean, one of them holds my phone, so I'm not gonna. It kind of worked. It kind of worked. I'm sure I could get other things into the other one if I was desperate enough. But this is the thing. It's live and learn. So with these ones, I did use what is technically a quilting material. So I didn't know how that would one would turn out. Getting tongue tied. But sometimes you just want pants with books and cats on them, which they have come in quite useful. They do look quite nice. I'm happy with the way they turned out. Spoiler alert. But I do find sometimes you get like a quilting material that's way too stiff. You probably don't want to use it, but as like a material. But this one, I felt this one was comfortable enough to wear as pajama pants. So I kind of think you could use that one in like a dress kind of thing. The only thing that was difficult about it was because it was designed for quilting, it was made a little bit like narrower. I know some people are really finicky about that kind of thing, but I sort of think it's about learning how to do things for yourself with what resources are available. Like, there's times when people have to make their clothes out of old tablecloths. Like, I feel like there's just a lot of snobbery around what kind of material you should be using for what project. I think just do the one that fits your goals, that you're comfortable working with, that you have to use or you want to use. That's the thing. And there is my attempts at pockets. Not great, but I mean, one is right side in, the other's wrong side out. I don't know how you want to put that, but it it's all about having a go at the end of the day, and sometimes these things they just don't work out. But it's always worth that little bit of effort, because you never know what you're going to get from the experience. And I'm going to know next time to better plan out my pockets. And there will definitely be more pockets in the future, because I am sick of women's clothes with no pockets. Again, one of the benefits of just learning to sew for yourself, it's you can make these adaptations that you can't get from anywhere else. And that should really be the end goal with these things. And I did do the same sort of thing where I put the little buttonhole on there. I think these ones I managed to get it down a little bit lower. The other ones I did have the buttonhole where it kind of went inside, which isn't ideal. And again, this is practice. Just keep going with it. There are parts of these that aren't great, but I'm going to know better for next time. There we go, just finishing the hem off, and the final result. So I added like little details on the hems, because if you have a fancy machine, why not? I mean, you can also hand embroider as well. One of the many benefits of doing your own clothes, but I was very happy with the fit of these, and they were very comfortable. And I'm definitely going to be wearing them whenever I get a chance. And we have the cat pants, so as you can see,
a functioning pocket, a not as well functioning pocket. I can still kind of get my hands in when they're not on. And I added little details to the hems. They are a bit creased because I did wash them. I nearly did the video before washing them, but I forgot and wanted them clean. The little buttonholes, I think, add like a nice cute little touch. I'm not sure if I'll get a cord in there or not. Don't really need one. But yeah, and they are a bit wrinkly because it is a quilting fabric, which is one of the risks you take, but you know, it's a balance of what you need, what you want, etc., etc.